Welcome to The Big Rich Show. This podcast will focus on conversations with friends and acquaintances within the four-wheel drive industry. Many of the people that I will be interviewing, you may know the name, you may know some of the history, but let's get in depth with these people and find out what truly makes them a four-wheel drive enthusiast. So now's the time to sit back, grab a cold one, and enjoy our conversation.
Whether you're crawling the red rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2, Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Why should you read 4Low Magazine? Because 4Low Magazine is about your lifestyle, the four-wheel drive adventure lifestyle that we all enjoy. Rock crawling, trail riding, event coverage, vehicle builds, and do-it-yourself tech, all in a beautifully presented package. You won't find 4Low on the newsstand rack, so subscribe today and have it delivered to you. On this week's episode of Conversations with Big Rich, we have Blondetourage. You may ask, what's Blondetourage? Well, it's 2 young ladies that competed at the Rebelle Rally this year, 2020, and won it. And that's Kaleigh Miller and Teralin Petereit. We welcome them on Conversations with Big Rich, and let's get started. Kaleigh, where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Tucson and pretty much always been here. I spent a little time in Austin for grad school, but otherwise I'm Tucson through and through.
What kind of things were you interested in as a kid? Did you play sports? Were you a bookworm? Give us some background.
Both of those, definitely a bookworm. I played sports. I was a softball player and a swimmer, but kind of looking at my life now compared to my childhood is kind of very different. I was not like a very outdoorsy person. I'm not one of those kids that was always hurt. Pretty quiet child.
Okay.
I was into school. Like even if I was sick, I wanted to go to school. I just loved school.
Teralin, where did you grow up, and what were your interests as a child?
Well, I was born in Southern California, and my dad was a fireman there, but my parents met in Utah and loved it there. So we moved back and forth, yearly. So I grew up loving the ocean and also the mountains and the desert of Utah. And I wanted to be just like my big brothers. So I played all the sports. My mom is like the funnest mom ever. We grew up camping and hiking, and everyone called us the bike family. We'd ride our bikes everywhere. And so we were always doing the outside stuff.
Awesome. What's your background school-wise?
Yep. So I went to high school in Springville, Utah. And then I tried out a couple of universities in the Salt Lake area, but I ended up getting my degree from Utah State University distance campus in Moab. So I have my bachelor's in natural resource management out of Moab.
Oh, excellent.
Tell them the big news though.
Oh, let's hear the big news.
I found out today I just got into Dixie State University for the nursing program. So
excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Let's look at how you guys got into wheeling. Teralin, I know that you've always been more of an outdoor sports person from what I remember and hearing. And I know that you've been wheeling for quite a while. You'll do things in your Toyota I will not do in my Cherokee. So let's talk a little bit about that background.
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, I always wanted to be like my big brothers, and they always had Jeeps and would go to Jeep Safari. And my mom would never let me go. And finally, when I was 17, she let me go to Jeep Safari down in Moab. And I was at Potato Salad Hill, and everybody knows King of the Hill, George Breakall, and his Toyota. And I thought I was just so funny. And he was out filming, with his little camera. And I climbed in the driver's seat, and he said, "Oh, ha, ha, funny girl, get out." And I said, "Not till you let me drive to the top." And he climbed in the passenger seat and put his seatbelt on. He told me to put it in third gear, and pointed out a line. I had never driven off-road. I mean, this man was crazy for allowing this to happen. I was 17 and driving his car, but I drove up Potato Salad Hill, and I don't know, that was just kind of it. I had to have a Toyota, and my first car was an FJ40, and then I got my 87 pickup, and over the years I've built it up, and I ended up in Moab for college.
Yeah.
And got a lot of wheeling experience during that time, and got into the old school rock crawl, and then We Rock and Dirt Riot, and made friends. And now, my closest friends are all from the off-road community. So
Excellent. Well, same question. What's your background? When did you get started off-road?
Mine is not as cool. So basically, I was in high school and my sister was dating a guy who had a Jeep, and he was in an off-road club. He was actually the president of this off-road club. And I just thought it was fun to hang out with college kids because I was still in high school. And these guys just partied really hard, and I thought it was fun. So I'd go on like trail rides with them. I was just always a passenger. So that's kind of how I got my first taste, but I never really like learned much or drove or anything. And then I worked as a CPA for several years and traveled a lot and just had zero time for hobbies. And when I kind of switched gears to a non-travel job, I wanted a hobby. And that was really the only thing I could think of. Was I always had fun with those off-road guys, And at the time, the group of friends I was hanging out with, we were camping a lot, not necessarily off-roading. I was like, I'll just get a little Jeep so I can, go to these remote camp spots. So I was Jeep hunting and found one I kind of liked. So I called up one of the guys from the old off-road club to go look at it with me, because I didn't know anything about cars at all and wanted to make sure it was a good deal. And that was Ryan Miller, who came with me. Told me, yep, I would buy it. He's like, it's a bucket of rust and the rear main seal is leaking. That's what I remember. And I was like, I don't know what any of that means. Should I buy it? And he said, yes. Kind of fast forward, I kept him around to learn more about Jeeps, and we ended up getting married, but that's sort of a long story.
Just kind of happened.
Yeah. So that Jeep ended up years later being our rally Jeep, but it was no longer a rust bucket at that point.
That is correct. You guys, how long did it take you to build that?
Well, I drove it mostly stock for a couple of years. We had done like wheels and tires and a little body lift, but pretty much nothing. We bought a frame for it, a tub for it, basically a whole new Jeep, and put that together in about 3.5 months for the rally.
Wow, that's
while moving twice.
Yeah, while moving twice. Okay, that throws a wrench into things, so to speak. Teralin, how did you two meet?
We met through another off-road event where Kaleigh was, we were both trying to be part of the Rebelle Rally, and Kaleigh ended up going the first year, and she called me from the finish line and said, get ready, we're going next year. So we met at that first, off-road event, and then we'd only met each other in person a handful of times after that, and then we did the 2017 rally together.
Okay. And that was through the Ladies Off-Road Network, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so Charlene had done her competition for basically finding a co-driver for the rally, and Teralin and I both really wanted to do the rally. So we had kind of said, okay, if neither of us gets picked, let's find a way to go together. Then I did get picked. So she said, okay, well, you should win because then your entry is free. And we both were joking, obviously. And then, so I did win. So that's why I picked up the call. I picked up the phone as soon as I got it back and called her. I said, guess what? I won and you're going with me. So
Was Teralin the first call or Miller?
probably Miller. I can't be sure.
I'm going to be bouncing back and forth with the names here and getting screwed up. But Kaleigh, we met through Miller at the Dirt Riot racing. Miller is a kind of a madman behind the wheel. How did that all come about with you navigating for him, being his co-pilot?
I think I just nagged him long enough that he let me do it because I just really wanted to. And I said, I mean, I think you and I both know he doesn't really need a co-driver. And he has a great memory. He doesn't need me to tell him where the turns are. And if something breaks, I'm not going to be all that much help anyways. But he likes just to have someone like basically yell at him to go faster. I was like, I can do that. So I finally convinced him to let me in, and we had a great season. So I don't think he regretted that.
No, I don't think so.
But that's how I learned to drive, because that's like, I wasn't into off-roading really before I met him. So my introduction to wheeling was with Ryan driving. And so I always thought that was like kind of normal, the way he drives. And now that I'm more experienced, I realize that not everyone drives that way.
And what way is that? Go ahead and
Just,
say it.
right on the edge all the time, just right on the edge of like what your car can do. Yeah. So even though I only drive at like 50% of what he does, it's, I think, still probably, I definitely got my feet to the fire right away.
That's good. That's good experience, because then you realize what a vehicle is capable of doing as well. Teralin, how about yourself? When you were building your Toyota, what made you decide to go ahead and start competing, getting into old school?
Friends, I guess. I met, Captain Robbie Flandreau and Roland McGee and a bunch of those kids at Jeep Safari when I was 17, and they were doing the old school rock crawl. And so, as my truck slowly got built, I built part of my Toyota in like a barn full of horse poop, with Robbie. And so just being around that group of friends, they're like, just convinced me, come compete, come try it. And I'm coming from a sports background, I'm definitely competitive anyway, so thought it would be fun.
And I know there's a lot of those guys that don't like getting beat by a girl. We won't mention any names, but there are some out there that I know of. I always enjoy when the girls or ladies beat the guys at what they think is their game. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk about the Rebels. I guess, Kaleigh, that first year with Charlene, nobody knew what anybody was getting into at that Rebelle. Staff didn't know how it was going to work. I mean, we had a general game plan, but we had no idea what would happen once everybody hit the ground. What I remember most from the opening day was the fire and having to pivot, which is a real popular word right now, but it's being able to change directions and keep moving forward at the same time. And the Rebelle had to do that first year because of the fire on opening morning. Couldn't do rally school where it was planned. But what was your take on that first Rebelle and how you felt during it?
Yeah, I think all of it was just sort of a surprise for everybody. When Charlene posted needing a teammate, I just thought the premise sounded really cool, but I've never navigated before. In fact, terrible navigator when it comes to like phones and GPS, and I'm like that person that leaves the mall and I'm like, where's my car? And I can't find it for 20 minutes. And then I realized I drove a different car than what I remembered. I mostly was just teaching myself on YouTube and reading books. So I didn't go in with very high expectations for myself. There was quite a few competitors that had done the Gazelle before, which is a similar event in Morocco. So I just assumed they would all sort of like wipe the floor with us, and that was fine. I just was like, my only goal is to not embarrass myself. That was it, because I was like, as long as we're like mid-pack, I'll be happy. I remember that first day looking at scores. I think we're in 7th, and me and Charlene were so excited. We were just like, I can't believe it. We're in the top 10. We're pumped. So I think the whole thing was just sort of shocking. You know, nobody really knew what to expect. The event is different than the Gazelle. So I think some of the people who've done that before were also sort of surprised about the differences. So yeah, it definitely exceeded my expectations. That's for sure.
What did you think of the layout with camping, getting up early, your points in the morning, and then hitting the road? You know, you get like an hour or so, you know, from the time you get your stuff until you're ready to go. What was all that? What was that like? I mean, was it stressful?
Yeah, but not too bad because you kind of feel like everyone's in the same boat as you. So you're with this other group, and so you're all kind of just pumped with the same adrenaline. So even though you have to like start plotting at 5, you can't sleep past 4 because you're so excited, you know? So I think we were just so anxious to start each day and to keep continuing doing the event that those mornings, it didn't feel too terrible. They felt freezing cold, but I think you're so anxious to just do it, you know, especially that first year. It was all just like such an exciting time. And we were all in it together. I think everyone was just so happy to be there and to, you know, get through it. That it was very, it's been like that every year, but all the competitors were very like in it together, so to speak.
At what point during the first Rebelle did you feel that you guys had a shot to win it?
I actually don't remember. I think we were just slowly like kind of went up each day, but even going into the last day, I don't think we were in the lead that last day. But I don't really remember. I think we just every day were shocked that we were still doing well. But on the other hand, like one checkpoint could be the difference between dropping significantly or being late could be the difference. So it always just felt like, oh, you know, we're doing great, but I'm sure tomorrow someone will pass us, you know, I'm sure tomorrow we'll make a mistake. So it never felt very secure. And even coming across the finish line, you don't even know how you did because you don't have your phone yet. So that's why I think probably the first call I made was Ryan because they're spectating, so the spectators see the score. So the first call you make, you're like, did we win? Because you can't see it. Like you don't even know how you did that day or how anyone else did. So I don't think until he told me it really was even a possibility.
Okay, Teralin, what was your feeling going into your first one, which was of course Kaleigh second, and did she prepare you for what you were about to face? Did you have a pretty good idea what it was going to be about?
I definitely felt lucky, especially now looking back, going in as a rookie to have a teammate that, you know, not only had experience but had won in the past, or you know, won the first year. And yeah, she put on a training, and I went down to Pine Top, Arizona. I should say put on a training, but like Ryan made checkpoints for us, and then we plotted them, and we had maps printed out and went and practiced like a day in the Rebelle, or a weekend. We did a couple days in a row. So I had an idea of what to expect, but I did not anticipate the endurance of it all. Just so many days of mentally draining, physically draining, emotionally draining. Just like there's no breaks for so long. But I had an idea. I definitely could have been more prepared and was very lucky to have Kaleigh for sure.
I remember a bit about that, the year both of you together. You guys kind of led from, or were in the top couple of competitors from day one on. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
You remember? Okay.
Yeah.
They all kind of run together, but probably. I think it'd be hard to win now if you weren't kind of in the lead the whole time.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. One of the things that I noticed is this, and I get to watch the scores as they're happening, like the spectators do as a course official. I get to watch everybody going out and making what I'm assuming are mistakes, and then I can watch it on the scoring. And so when you come to possibly my checkpoint, you know, I know where the teams kind of stand. It's interesting to watch the strategy that unfolds, especially the last couple of days, the last 2 or 3 days. I know that it seems like everybody goes for everything, but what's your strategy, with those multiple checkpoints? Is it to grab them all, or is it kind of explain that?
I think the goal in the morning is you hope you have time to get every checkpoint, right? But as the day unfolds, you kind of do the math like, okay, we've been getting 2 checkpoints an hour. What's our distance left for the day? How many do we have left? Do we have time to spend 30 minutes on a hard, a black X checkpoint? Or would it be better to save that time for the higher point blues at the end of the day? Because obviously finding a blue flag is, more of a guarantee than guessing on a black checkpoint. So I think we just kind of in the morning, just hope there's time for every single one, and if we see that there's not going to be, we start cutting out some harder checkpoints or ones that are farther out of the way, things like that.
Okay. What's the best skill set that somebody can bring into the Rebelle as a new competitor?
As a competitor that wants to win, or a competitor that wants to come for an experience?
Most people that enter a competition want to win. I mean, they're hoping to be able to win, to do good enough. But I mean, there was a lot of girls, or a lot of ladies. I keep saying girls, but I'm so old, everybody's a girl. There was quite a few new, like 50% new this year. And there was that first day up in Tahoe, just talking to some of those ladies, everybody seemed to be really confident. Like, right. they had prepared, they were, even as brand new competitors. And from what I saw that they may have been humbled by the end of the event. Has there been anything along the way, Kaleigh, like on the first year, was there anything that really humbled you and Charlene, or any of the years that stands out?
That's kind of hard, because the first year we were all so clueless that even when we made mistakes, other people were making the same mistakes, like we were late into a base camp once, and I was like, never doing that again, because that's just like giving away points. Being late to something is just so wasteful. So that's definitely something we focused on. But me and Teralin's strategy, it's funny because people really want to know about our strategy, and it's just so willy-nilly. Like, it really is. People don't believe us, but it really is. Like, we don't even know who's driving that day until we walk up to the car. But I think that's something that like actually ends up really helping us, is that we can both do both really well. So you don't both need to be able to drive really well if you're not actually going to switch places. But the driver should know how to navigate at least like 80% as well as the navigator does. I think a lot of the newer teams don't emphasize that enough. So they feel like they have a really good navigator and a really good driver. And I think you could have the best navigator in the rally from a technical standpoint, have the very best one. But if your driver isn't almost as good, you won't do well, because it's not reasonable to expect one person to never make a mistake, never get tired. You need that second pair of eyes that can be almost as good to say, that doesn't look right, or I don't disagree. I mean, I don't agree with you. I think that's probably would be my best piece of advice, is just like, it's a navigation event. You both have to know how to navigate.
One of the things that I noticed is at times is the girls looking at the map upside down and convinced that east is east and it's actually west that they're looking at. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Not for like a long period with the map per se. In 2018, we did drive the wrong way on a highway for like 40 minutes.
We were chatting, it felt good. Like, where is everyone? I don't know, but this mountain looks like that one, so keep going,
And at the time we're in the TJ, so it doesn't even have like a compass inside, and it was midday, so you can't really use the sun or anything. So yeah, we just drove the wrong way for a really long time before we realized it. But as far as like when we're out of the car looking at a map, the first thing we do is orient the map. So you put your compass on it and turn it until it's facing north. That's like step number one when we get out of the car pretty much every time.
Explain to the ladies that are going to be listening to this what this, I mean, we've already been talking for, I don't know, 30 minutes, but explain to them what the Rebelle is all about. From your I want to hear it from each of your perspectives. So Kaleigh, go ahead. You're on the screen, on my big screen first.
So it's a off-road navigation event. I don't know how many miles we actually did this year, but I think they usually say around 1,500 miles. So it's quite a bit of actual off-roading. Definitely don't want to downplay the difficulty of the driving. I think the driving actually gets a little harder every year, especially like sand dunes. That can be new for a lot of people. But the crux of the competition is navigation. So you are using a map and compass to find checkpoints without any electronics. So your phone gets locked up. If you have GPS in your car, it gets covered up. So you're just old school analog finding these checkpoints. The checkpoints, you might have heard us reference black and green and blue. It's kind of like a ski run. So green has a big flag and a truck and a person. And those are the easiest to find. Then blues can
smiling
be like,
faces.
Yeah. The blues can be like a little PVC pipe or also a flag, but nobody's there. And those can be tricks as well. So there might be two that are like, you know, half a kilometer from each other. So you have to know that one is yours. If you click the wrong one, you get a penalty. And then a black just has nothing. So there is nothing there. When you think that you are on it, you have a little tracker that you signal, and it sends the information back to the scorers, and they determine whether you were in the bullseye or not. So those are the most terrifying, because you just have to believe that you are there. But I think we'll call that 75% of the competition for me. Other people might have different percentages, but there's a lot of it is just the people that you're around. It is all women, and it attracts a certain kind of women that tend to be people I really like because they're like us, you know, and they're just, you know, all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, but every single one is there for the adventure. So, you know, just a really adventurous, brave group of people. I'm always kind of shocked afterwards. I might meet somebody new, or maybe just have gotten closer to someone and I friend them on Facebook and get to know them a little better. Just like very amazing to see the things they're doing outside of this. Because when we're there, all we talk about is the rally. That's all you have time for. All you talk about is how your day was, what tomorrow's going to be like, you know, what your strategy is. Then you get home and really learn about some of them. And it's just a great group of people to be associated with.
There's a lot of highly intelligent women on the event. I was amazed this year. The CEO, I think, of Iridium, and
COO, yeah.
Yep. And then they had the what is it? Benzie is like truly a rocket scientist. You know, I mean, it's okay. So, Teralin, what's your explanation of what the Rebelle is?
I guess just to expand on what Kaleigh already described, would be that Emily always says it's not a race, it's a competition. So we start at the same base camp and end at the same base camp with all of the competitors every day. So it's all based on points, not, you know, it's not a speed race, it's just who gathers the most points. So along with strategy, you've got to decide how many of those checkpoints and which ones to go after and what you have time for, because there's closing and openings. I had a lot more until you called on me. Let's see.
Go ahead and think about it. I can edit out the pauses and all that.
I was going to also say that the precision is really important, because, you know, you're marking your checkpoints with pencil every morning, and if you're off by the width of your pencil, you're going to miss points. So of your pencil mark on that map. So it's really a precision navigation sport. The driving, I wouldn't call it difficult, but if you're not on your game, you'll get flat tires, you'll get turned around, you can get yourself stuck. People have blown their motor because they'll hit their oil pan, and stuff like that happens. So it is a navigation rally, but like Emily always says, a navigator can get you lost, but a driver can end your rally. So that's really important. I'd say the most important thing we've done together is being really time efficient. So while you're not racing, it's every minute counts. We are doing something from the second they give us our checkpoints. If one of us is plotting, the other one is getting camp packed up, getting lunches packed, getting everything in the car. And that's another thing, is you carry everything you need with you on this rally. So, you don't have a spare parts truck, and you don't have, someone that sets up your tent for you. You're self-contained. Everything you need for every day is in your own vehicle. And then as far as some people stop and cook lunch and chat at the green checkpoints and stuff, but we use every minute, because you don't know, you might need that 20 minutes to change your flat tire down the road so that you don't miss a checkpoint. So if we're allowed to go 50 on dirt, we go 50 on dirt, as long as it's okay for the car. We push ourselves the whole time to try to make up for the time to get as many points as we can. So and then like Kaleigh said, we went into it as a competition, and we're going to go compete and try to beat all these other people, but it's really become a community of friends, and such a great platform for us to learn and grow with these other amazing people. And so it's kind of when we get on the stage with some of those people and we get a trophy, I'm so proud to be among those women from the industry and from all walks of life. It's really cool.
Awesome.
Emily's actually changed the strategy over the last couple of years. So I wasn't there last year when the rules changed, but they've actually changed some of the rules, I think, to make the event require more strategy and generally be a little bit harder. So now you have some either or checkpoints. They call them the X checkpoints. So you can go after an X checkpoint, but it's harder, it's worth more points, and whatever score you get on it, you have to keep that score. So definitely over the years, it's less about just really good navigation and driving and then you win, and it's more who has the best strategy and who can make the least mistakes. I think that Tara and I don't think we're the best drivers out there. I could name 5 right now that are better than both of us. And we're definitely not the best navigators out there. Again, I could tell you a bunch of better navigators that teach us things all the time. But what we don't, knock on wood, what we haven't done is make any big mistakes. We weren't late all year. We didn't click any of the wrong checkpoints. We just made really good choices with our time, and we agree on everything. So I say, I think it's this one. She says, I don't. Okay, then I'm not going to press it. We have to agree, and so we'll work on it until we do. I think that saves us from those really big errors that they'll just knock you down and you'll never recover.
So the question I was going to ask is that you guys each of you have done 4 rallies out of the 5. Teralin, of course, wasn't at the first one because you won the seat to do it. You missed last year, and Teralin was with Melissa. What was the difference? I mean, you guys did really well from what I remember. Didn't you guys get second, Teralin?
Yes.
So there's not a whole lot of a loss there. You each have 2 firsts together. Then Kaleigh has a first, and then you guys have a third together, and then Teralin has a second. You guys haven't left a whole lot on the plate for anybody else. You've noticed that, right?
Maybe.
Maybe. No, I think that's pretty good. That's a really good track record. So where do you think this whole rally thing is going? Do you think it's got longevity? Do you think that Emily may throw more curveballs besides, X checkpoints? And think there's anything else that she can throw at you?
I think she's definitely making it harder year by year as us as competitors get better. I'm sure there's a lot more she could do to us. She's she comes from so much experience and so many rallies in her life that I don't know what she's hiding, but I know it's coming. she's going to keep growing for sure and pushing us to learn and grow. So
there's been a lot of things over the years. I'm like, well, I wonder if she'll do this year, and she hasn't yet. So I know there's stuff out there that she could do to make it harder, and I think she will, because it's not just that, like, me and Teralin and all the other people who've been there for 5 years need harder stuff. The rookies are better too. So they're coming in, they're learning from us who've been there, because all the experienced rebels are more than happy to train. Every single one of them answers questions, helps train. And the rookies just have more information because they can watch the live videos and they can go back and look at prior rebels. So they're even coming in at a higher level. She's going to have to keep adding things to just kind of, keep it moving. We've thought in the past, she one time wanted to do night checkpoints in Johnson Valley, but the lake bed was wet and that's where the checkpoints were. So that got canceled. So we keep thinking every year there's going to be night checkpoints. So we make sure to have a light bar and we make sure to have good flashlights, and then it hasn't happened. So that's like one of those things. She could definitely throw these little things in there. We've talked about before that she could give you a blank map that doesn't have any actual topography on it, but it has a checkpoint. So you'd have to plot the checkpoint and just use a bearing and a distance to get there and not use the topography. So she's alluded to that in the past. She's alluded to using a map that doesn't have a scale and you have to create your own, because right now they're all like 50, 100, 200. So there's definitely like more that could be done to torture us. So time will tell.
I kind of like the no topography. Do you guys rely on the topography a lot? Do you read the terrain on the map to get you guys close to where you believe the points will be?
I think that's probably one of our most used tools. Probably odometer is number one, and then topography is number two. The first thing we do, get out of the car, like I said, orient the map and say, okay, if where we're supposed to be, what should be to my left and what should be to my right and what should be right in front of me according to this. And you have to know the topography to know that. Like, oh, I should see a valley right in front of me. Well, if there's a mountain in front of me, we're not where we think we are. And back to the drawing board. So we use that a lot to like pinpoint our location.
Okay. I think that would be very difficult with a blank map.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at night.
Well, and especially if she did something where you can't just take a heading and drive a straight line. If you had to go at a different heading a certain distance and then get a new heading, you'd have to really plot your route around things onto this map, trying to find your way around the topography that's not there. So
well, and they did something similar. We also have what we call enduros, which is a whole different thing. But one of the enduros this year, it's a road book. I don't know if anyone that's done any off-road rallies is probably familiar with the road book. But it had checkpoints in it. So it would say like go 2 kilometers at 84 degrees, and you would do that. And then the next step was like go 113 degrees for a kilometer. So you're like, the map doesn't matter because you're just following these directions step by step, getting out, taking a heading with your compass, driving the distance, then making the next turn. So whether you're on a mountain or on a lake bed, it doesn't really matter. You're just following the directions step by step. And then it'll say at, step number 4, click your tracker. And if you did it right, you get the points because it's a black checkpoint. But if you did it wrong, you're in the wrong place. So it would be pretty similar to that, I think. But you'd have to basically create a road book for yourself, which would be pretty hard.
So what did you think of the precision driving at the beginning when in Ridgecrest?
I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool because you can go any speed. So we just went really slow, and on that one you weren't allowed to get out of your car. So you just had to follow the directions perfectly, and you were not allowed to back up. I'm a really good rule follower. That's just who I am. Like if I read a rule book, I'll remember every single rule. Like if I play board games, I'm all about the rules. So that one was fun to me because I'm like, okay, go slow, just go this far, go this far. And it involves some pretty gnarly off-roading in the meantime. You're going up this huge hill and then having to descend it. But I probably would think it was less fun if we didn't get full points, but we got full points, so now it seems fun. It was probably really stressful at the time, but looking back, it was fun.
All right, did you guys do the tire challenge? You did.
Yeah.
Who ended up winning that? I didn't get involved with that at all. I wasn't going to go stand out in the sun.
The Bronco, Shelby and
really?
Winnie and the Bronco.
Okay.
Yeah, they got like 4 minutes and no, they got sub 4 minutes. They got 3 minutes something.
Excellent. So what is your take on what the Rebelle provides the teams, whether it's during the event or after the event? Say media or food or any of those kind of things. What's besides it being a competition, is it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I know for Tara and I, because we pay for this like a lot out of our own pocket, we do get a ton of help from Butini or we wouldn't be able to go. But even still, we do fork out quite a bit of money. And I know that it feels like a barrier for a lot of people, especially if you've never been there. But once you've been there, you're like, I get it. That's where all the money's going. Because you go through, I think the permits alone, I don't know the numbers, I've never asked, and it's probably none of my business, but the areas you drive through, it's just kind of a miracle they can get permits at all. So I can only imagine what they cost. Because we go through like national parks. Like, I don't know how many events get to go through national parks, but I doubt it's very many. And then to set up these base camps in Klamath and Johnson Valley and throughout Nevada, they're huge base camps. I mean, it looks like a wedding. It's got the full tent and everything. And we do have the best food. So Drew Deckman is a Michelin star chef, and he makes us pretty crazy meals out in the middle of the desert. So you quickly start to see what you're paying for. There's a lot of cheaper events in the world, but they're not, even from a time perspective, I don't know any events that are this long. You're in scored competition for 7 days, but the event itself is really like 10 or 11 days with tech inspection, and there's a prologue day, then there's the gala day. So it's a lot of days to feed us and have permits and all of that. So, and then there's swag bags and trophies and all that stuff too.
And they bring showers out to us. So we have shower trucks and toilets, and I think the fuel guys need more credit. They bring fuel to us on course every day, every evening. And then the media is world class. Like, it's the photos that come out of this are amazing, and they put a lot more effort into it in the last 2 years to have the live coverage and the drones. And so just having, I think this year there was like 20 more people on staff than there was like, 72 competitors and 90 something staff members. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I'm sure we don't even know about.
Yeah, there actually is. One of the things that I recommended this year after the rally was to help with the advertising, is to show the behind the scenes, what it takes to put the rally on, so that people coming into it, they go, my God, this is expensive, really get an understanding of what it is that they're getting for that dollar. I think it's a great value. I don't think that anybody, but maybe some of the people that are collecting money for permits are actually making any money off of this whole thing. I know as a volunteer, we certainly don't, but it's the love of the event that keeps us coming back. All the people that we've been able to meet and the associations that we've created. I hope that more women take advantage of it and have an opportunity to participate like you guys have done. So, do you ever have anybody come up to you, when you're out wheeling or something, and say, you were at the Rebelle, what's it like? Has that happened?
Yeah. Not to me. Not to me.
Not to you. It's happened to us. Shelly and I, we get it because I have that I used to have leave the Rebelle stickers on the side of the Jeep. I'm not doing that on the Raptor though. Teralin, how about you? Has anybody come up to you?
I live in my Rebelle hat, so people definitely ask, if they know what it is, they'll say, "Oh, hey, you've done that, what do you think?" That kind of stuff for sure. And then with social media, so many people, in the off-road community know about it because we post all the time. And so they'll, say congratulations and, ask about it at the next event that I see them at and stuff like that. So.
And what do you tell people when they ask about it? Do you say you got to get out and do it, or is there something else?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, I say I love it. It's my favorite. Yeah, it's I think a lot of women are intimidated by it. They think they need to be experienced in like rock crawling or racing, or knowing how to use the map and the compass. But you can do it in your car in the driveway is like their motto, and you really can. So many stock vehicles go out there. I always tell them it's dirt roads. It's dirt roads in the backcountry. Like they're dragging trailers and semis back there for us. It's not, you don't have to be a professional driver. You just have to be a smart driver. And the navigation you can learn. Just come to a couple of trainings, join one of our Zoom meetings like this. We get together. We have we have our little nerdy club that we practice our mapping. And like Kaleigh mentioned, any Rebelle is happy to help teach any new rookie. So I always tell everyone, like, do it. You won't regret it. Like, absolutely 100% won't regret it. So.
Yeah, I agree. From the outside, I think it looks very like unachievable. Like, yeah, it looks awesome. I'd love to do that, but how could I possibly ever do that? I'm like, well, you just have to say you will, and then you will, because you can do it with any 4-wheel drive vehicle or being crossover class. You don't even need 4-wheel drive. You need all-wheel drive. So, how many all-wheel drive cars are there in the world? You could probably, if you don't have one, you probably have a friend who does, who would want to go with you. So you need a car and you need a teammate. Anything else, you can pretty much figure it out. And you don't have to bring your own car. Borrow one from your mom or your boyfriend or whatever, like cars are expensive, but I bet someone would loan one to you to do this because it's really cool. So you really don't need any knowledge going in. If you commit to it, there's driving training. Nina Barlow does driving training. There's driving trainings all across the country you can sign up for. So even if you're new to off-roading, you have a year, or however long, you just practice just like you would anything else. And then same with the navigation. The rally puts on trainings throughout the year. So you're not just like out on your own trying to figure this out. Like they do Rebelle specific trainings that teaches you like what the scoring is like, what the checkpoints are like, how to plot your points. So you can take a very specific training in addition to doing things on your own. But anyone who has the desire to do it could do it. Like there's nothing really mystical about it.
So, and to add to that, our first year together, we did a fundraiser to help get the rest of our registration fees together. And we had unbelievable support from all kinds of companies that weren't even off-road related, like local restaurants gave us gift cards to raffle off. And, we sold stickers for a raffle ticket. And I think we covered all of our fees that year with support of all kinds of companies, local companies, bigger off-road companies. BTini was a big contributor for us, but people have, got their local bars to do a night where, 20% of the proceeds from the night go to their team. And so all their friends come drink and that works, or someone took an extra Uber job to make some extra money. So if money is an issue too, there's definitely some ideas from some of us that we can point you in the right direction to get that together. So
that's awesome. Okay, so what's in the future? You guys, I'm assuming, I don't even know what the winner gets besides a bunch of kudos and congratulations. I'm assuming it's still an entry into another entry. Is that correct?
It's money towards an entry. It's not the whole thing anymore, but it's most of it.
So what's in the future? You guys going to continue doing it? Take a year or two off, or stay at it, or Any plans? If you don't have any, that's fine.
I think what's hard is that we love competing together so much, but we also both really love to do it. So I know Teralin doesn't want to go without me, but I think if I told her I wasn't going to be there, she'd still go with somebody else, like she did last year, and it broke my heart.
Sorry, Tammy.
And I'm sure that she'd be looking to be hired. I mean, people would want her as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to trust anyone else after I've had Kaleigh, you know. It's hard to know someone's going to give it their all every minute of every day and not get too frustrated or give up, or, you know, it's hard to put that in someone when you put so much into it, to trust them to give the same you're giving. So
that's true.
It's a lot of time. It's a lot of one-on-one time with someone. We share a tent too, a really small tent. So we're literally like joined at the hip for 11 days. Like you're in a car together, or you're in a tent together, or you're eating dinner together. That's it. Like the only thing we do separate is go to the bathroom, and out in the desert, we're sometimes doing that together too. So you really have to believe that the person that you're going with, you won't kill them. Like, and that I think is such a big deal. Like, I don't know if people put enough focus on that sometimes, is you can't be successful in this event if you can't get along with the other person. It doesn't matter how good you are. You just can't. No one has the mental capacity to do that. So we'll see. It's a hard question to ask just a couple of days after the event, because we're exhausted.
True.
And, you know, we got a little postpartum. There's a whole reentry process after the rally that all the rebels kind of know about. It's kind of hard to explain to anybody else, but you haven't had a phone for a week, and you've spent all this one-on-one time with all these other really cool people, and now you're back in the real world, and nobody understands what you just went through, and it's sort of lonely, you know, like I'm in a different state than my teammates, so I don't know when I'll see her again. So it's a little fresh to know whether, like, I think it takes a couple months for people to really like breathe after the event and really know, like, if they'll do it again.
Fair enough. So is there anything that you guys want to say to future rebels or anybody that might listen to this about the Rebelle as we come to an end in this interview?
I'd say don't be afraid to reach out. Just get on Facebook. There's groups, there's, you know, individual competitors. Send a message, ask questions. Don't be afraid to reach out and make it happen. Don't say later. Just make it happen.
Yeah, because you never know what's going to happen later.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of teams say, well, I'll do that, whatever, like 2022. I'm like, why? Why not? Like, because they feel like that's how long it will take to get ready. So you don't know if the event is going to exist in 2 years. She might not be able to get permits anymore, or she might get tired of doing it. So like, if it's something you want to do, you just have to do it, and you'll get there. Like, if you say that you will, you will. I see no reason why this event shouldn't be sold out every single year. There's enough women out there who can do this and who want to do this, that it should be at its capacity, you know, in January. Like, that's how many people I think should be signing up. So just if anyone's interested, I think you put your name in the hat and figure out the details later.
I would agree. Just go for it. That's it. Well, I want to thank the two of you for coming on and being on Conversations with Big Rich and sharing your stories about the Rebelle. I guess before we close, there's got to be one particular moment over the 4 years that each of you have that is like super memorable. Not an awards time or something, but something that happened in the moment out there, you know, in the desert. Kaleigh, you're up first. What might that be? Can you think of anything, that one moment that's an aha moment?
Well, the bad ones really stick in your head. I'll tell you that, because you'll lose sleep over those bad moments for months. But we had a lot of good moments this year. I think it'll take me a couple months before one really stands out. But I think in general, it just was like, this year felt so different to me. I don't know if it was the car or what, but we just had a good time. Like, we had music on and we were laughing and joking. And I know from the outside, it kind of seems like we're always like that, but prior years, there was quite a bit of stress in the car. So this year in general, I just feel like our mood was just like out of 10. Like, we were just, Tara at one point said, it feels like I'm just out wheeling with my girlfriend. And I was like, that's exactly what it felt like all week, was we're just out wheeling with our girlfriends, you know? I don't know exactly what day will stand out. I'm sure one will stick in my mind, but right now it's, I think, a little too fresh.
Teralin, do you have one? Maybe not from this year, but.
Yeah, I think so I guess this is the first thing that crossed my mind when you asked the question. So I don't know if it's extra special, but I'll share it. It was our first year together, and it was day 7, and we're neck and neck with Nina and Emmy, and we're out in the dunes, and we decided we had like 30 minutes left to hit base camp, but there was one black checkpoint across the big dunes. I think we were out by China Wall or something, and we had to go up these big dunes to find this last black and get back to base camp. And we were just, I had never driven in the dunes. I had one dune training with Emily. And so I was super nervous, and I'm, white knuckling the wheel, and I'm sure I'm going to get us stuck and we're going to just die out there in the desert forever. And it was going to be my fault that we missed base camp, So I'm really nervous, but I'm, if you don't take the chances, you're not going to win. You've got a chance. Like, you've got to try everything you can try. So we're going from our last blue toward this. It was 19 black, at the end of the day. And we're going up these dunes, and I see Nina in her truck at the top of this mountain of sand. And all of a sudden, my foot is to the floor, and the Jeep starts to go, ruh, ruh, ruh. And I look down, and our fuel gauge is on empty because of the incline. And all I could do was just like, Kayleigh's like, keep on it. Anyway, I held on that gas, and somehow we just limped over the top of the dunes, went down the other side, did a flyby, pressed the button out the window because you didn't used to get penalized for being too far off. Turns out we got 0 points on that for the day. But, hauling around and just getting into, actually, I think there was a blue after that past base camp, wasn't there? Yeah, so we passed base camp, grabbed the last blue, and just crossing that finish line was just like, no matter what happened, it was just like, it felt like such an accomplishment that I drove the sand, for my first time, and I didn't get us stuck at all, and we didn't die, and got all those points. And we ended up, how we had followed Nina out there. She had missed that same black somehow, and we won by, I think, 2 points ahead of her. And so just like that final day was just, I don't know, it felt so intense. It just felt like the edge of my seat all day long. And so to make it to camp and have called Ryan and found out that we had most likely placed first place was just like this really cool moment for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for joining me while you guys are trying to get your wits back about you and decompress from the competition while it was still fresh in your mind. So thank you so much for being on Conversations with Big Rich. And I hope to get you guys back on in a year or so, or 2 years or 3 years, whenever you guys pull in another first place trophy like that's over your shoulder there.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Teamy. Miss you guys.
If you enjoy these podcasts, please give us a rating. Share some feedback with us via Facebook or Instagram, and share our link among your friends who might be like-minded. Well, that brings this episode to an end. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next week with Conversations with Big Rich. Thank you very much.